What's up, guys? Doug Polk here, and we are back with a new format we're going to be doing where we are doing a deep dive on how to play in the Club WPT Gold games. Obviously, they are a lot different than your normal online game. We have straddles, we've got antes, they're 8 max. The games are crazy. People are going nuts. So I figured what better way to learn than to bring in Upswing Poker's very own Gazzy B. Gazzy, welcome to the show today, man.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I got to tell you, I'm a little bit jealous. It looks like you've got some good games on your hands here. So a little jealous. I'm grinding the Euro games. It looks a lot more fun on WPT Gold.
The games are good, and also at least at the moment, the small stakes games rake is really low compared to what you're seeing in the European sites. I did a little bit of a deep dive on that on my stream the other day, but basically, it's I think a 1 straddle cap on rake, no matter what the stakes are. So typically, you might see the smallest stakes on a website have a really high cap that basically ends up kind of being uncapped, which makes them a bit more of a rake trap than on this site. So I do think it's a pretty good opportunity for people that play small stakes to play in some very soft games with a quite reasonable rate cap. Of course, the big downside being you are only allowed to 1 table, so that's going to be the big caveat playing on this site for sure.
I hear they're going to add multi-tabling soon, though. Is that right?
I think that's going to happen. Who knows with development? I'm sure it could take more. So just taking a step back here before we get going, this is going to be a 3-part series. We're going to put the first part here up on YouTube so anyone can watch for free. Hopefully it provides some value and helps you guys out with these games, if you play in these games or possibly just in general. So we'll have this available to everyone online. And then parts 2 and 3 are going to be up over on Upswing. We'll put them in the lab so the lab members can get some value as well. And we can kind of refine our craft. So this is the way I envision doing this. Basically, and you guys might know this about me, I'm more of a heads-up specialist. All of these days, even that's debatable. So I felt like maybe it would make the most sense to let's play a ring game and let's just go through spots. Like there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff that's happening here. Like, so for example, there's no wait for your big blind button, which is insane, but there's not. So when you get to the table, you have to post, which means you either can wait and post at the right time, or you just have to come in and just lose a blind. But the problem is if you're on a wait list, for example, you actually can't decide. So there's constantly posting, there's constantly limping, there's and then kind of to continue with that, the player pool, they're all 1 tabling people. It's wild. So I felt like let's just get an hour session in. Not a lot of like very complicated spots here, but let's talk like mechanics. Let's talk how you would approach it. Antes, straddles, the whole thing. I'm really looking forward to what you have to say on this because I need help, Gazzy. I need help with these spots.
Well, it sounds amazing. I've never played a straddle game online before. 8 max is kind of a new concept as well, but it sounds like the games are really soft. So yeah, let's jump in and see how we're going to win in these games.
Okay, cool. So I'll just kind of like get us started here with what we're expecting to see. I think the first hand, I don't even know the action, but you can see that there are these 2 hands. This pot is already, I think the straddle on this table is $2. So, we have like a 40 blind hand. We have pocket 4s. It's going to be a lot of this. I played some hands with this guy to my left. What do you think when you see all caps in the screen name? Is that potentially a read?
Yeah, it's an aggressive player, a very loose, very aggressive player. They're not going to be waiting to post the straddle or waiting to sit to post the straddle. They're going to be in there playing some hands. Kind of annoying that they're on your left, but we can kind of work around that. We can sort of exploit that. Do a lot of checking and a lot of check raising, slightly tighter opening range, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so it is a little bit interesting when you have some of these very wild players. And in a moment here, I'm going to go through what you can see. So one of the cool things on this site, if you right click on their name, it'll show you their VPIP and preflop raise.
Okay.
It's very gameable because so to start off with, it's all stakes combined and all formats combined. So for example, on mine, it'll say that I'm like 60-48 or something, but obviously that's from mainly heads up. So when I play a ring game, you kind of can't really tell what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then also it's all stakes. So in theory, you could just go down to the lowest possible stake and you could just min raise away, and then you play higher stakes and you're going to look like you're in some insane lag, but you're really not. So yeah, I guess like you kind of have to do a little bit of thinking like, do I think this is real? I don't know. How much stock would you put into those stats in an environment like this?
So it's interesting you mentioned that. I've actually done a lot of work recently with Uri Peleg, who is obviously affiliated with Upswing. And one of the things that he talks about is how people overvalue the stats in their heads up display, their HUDs. And he's got this fantastic spreadsheet, which sort of proves his point that for certain stats, you need thousands of hands. And it's the exact same concept here. You see a lot of new players to the game making decisions based off of the numbers that they can see on their screen. And it's really important that we're not doing that. And, we're using these numbers as a guide because, as you've just said, very easily manipulatable. You can play low stakes, you can play heads up. So a lot of the time, these stats are going to be not as useful as some people might think. And as well as that, some people might think, well, I've got 189 hands. That's enough of a sample to make a decision off of that sample. It's just nowhere near enough. So it's really important that we're using those stats as a guide and not basing all of our decisions off of them.
Right. And so we're going to get a few stats here. I'll just run through them real quick for our viewers so we can know the kind of players we got. So South GA Jacket played about 189 hands on the site, running at 52.23, and he's coming in hot with a limp here out of the gun. I think we can go ahead and say that these stats are probably a pretty good indicator for the type of player that we're going to be dealing with. Again, 189 hands. Don't want that to be like the end all for how we approach this, but probably somewhat important. This guy 41.11
for sure.
33.23, maybe a little bit more standard here.
A little more regular, yeah.
Yeah, looking like maybe a reg. Buying in for 100 big blinds. 37.19 on like the 40-ish big blind straddle, probably like a loose aggro rec, I imagine. This guy 27.18, 11,000 hands. So the regs of the table are going to be Tiffany and Bry. Mr. Man, probably another splashy rec coming in at the half VPB, and then if you build it, another 12,000 hands.
The table reg.
Yeah. So basically, you can kind of see here. I've scoped out some different games. I would say this is probably a pretty run-of-the-mill experience on the site. You got a few guys who clearly are trying and are reasonable, and then you just have a scattering of just all sorts of different people in there. So should help us with the situation. So going into the spot immediately, and then we're going to talk about like some spots that are kind of simple. How would you approach this when it gets to like limps under the gun? Like when you're thinking about your big blind call range, are we that worried about limp re-raises? Like I assume we're a little bit tighter when there's an under the gun limp, correct? When it gets to us in the big blind or in the straddle?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, in this specific scenario that we've got here, I would be pure folding our ace-3 offsuit. We're looking for hands that do well multi-way. So you've got your pocket pairs, your suited ace-x, your suited king-x, but hands like ace-3 offsuit, your 10-9 offsuit, these types of hands, I'd just be letting them go. I wouldn't be worried about limp raising. You can't shy away from getting in there and playing a hand for fear of being limp raised. You sort of cross that bridge when you come to it. I don't think it's going to happen all that often. But in this specific spot where it's gone limp, small raise, call, or rather just one call, we want hands that play well multi-way. And I think a lot of your viewers will be just in there with like ace-3 offsuit, 10-8 offsuit, 10-4 suited. These are the types of hands which are really leaking money if you're calling too wide from the big blind in this spot. Because remember, you're going 4 ways. You're out of position versus 2 players. It's really important that our range is a little bit stronger than we might realize, because we want a range that's stronger when we're going multi-way, because obviously there's more players in the pot, there's less equity that we can have, and so we want to have a stronger range than some people might think from the big blind here or from the straddle.